What is one bit of advice that you would give to other cultural business owners or small business owners in general?
Treat what you're doing with respect. So, respect your audience, respect the people that are working with you. Like, if you take it seriously, I think other people will take it seriously. Like, it's never been a hobby to me. It's never been a game. I'm very serious about what I do and why I do it. And I think that translates to the team that I work with, which in turn, translates to the outcome of the event, the actual execution of the event. So just being respectful of people's time and people's money and trying to provide the best experience possible, whatever that looks like in, whatever lane the person is choosing to follow. And then just doing it. I think, and I'm guilty of this. Like when I give this advice, it's like I'm talking to myself as well. I try to like plan and make things perfect, and it will never be perfect. So you just have to do it. So to the person that's like, I want to start something, I'm just trying to make sure everything's right. Like just do it. Because if you don't, somebody else will, or you might never do it because you're always going to wait for that big moment or whatever the case might be. So I think those are two things that are really important. Just doing it, having the confidence to do it. If you fail, whatever that looks like to you, it might not come out how, exactly how you wanted it to come out. You do it again, or you try it another way, or you learn from whatever that mistake was and you make it better.
This is Collective Drift. I'm your host, Erica Vernay Knowles. This platform was created to celebrate all women, the beauty of their cultures, and international travel experiences. Welcome to Collective Drift.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Collective Drift, or welcome to Collective Drift if this is your first time. Thank you so much for being here. If you are enjoying yourself, remember to click subscribe, and like this episode, comment on this episode, rate the podcast, all that good stuff. Show me some love, show me you enjoy being here. I really appreciate it. It's what counts. This episode is sponsored by Truist. Truist is here for better. BB&T and SunTrust formed Truist with a shared purpose to inspire and build better lives and communities. With our combined resources, collective passion, and commitment to innovation, we're creating a better financial experience to help people and businesses achieve more. Go to truist.com for more information. Okay, let's get to it. This interview is with Evelyn Onyejuruwa, but she goes by Evelyn O. She's from Nigeria, but she was raised in South Florida. If you're in South Florida, you know Evelyn for her Ankara Miami brand. She has one of the best events in South Florida every year, and she deals with African culture. It's just amazing. She has the African Fashion Week in Miami or in South Florida. Sometimes it's in Broward. She also has Ankara Swim Week, as well as Ankara Delights, which has an actual brick and mortar store in Hollywood, Florida. Make sure you check it out. I wanted to interview her because she has definitely taken culture to another level. Well, let's hear it from Evelyn. Okay, so Evelyn, how would you describe yourself?
Myself, well, I think I am a multi-dimensional creature. So I think there's layers to me. It's a weird mix of being reserved and social at the same time. So I can be outgoing. I can be, super friendly in social settings, but I also tend to be a little bit reserved sometimes and just try to, kind of take in my surroundings because I like to study people and just see where I fit in. But aside from that, I describe myself as a visionary. I have a lot of grand ideas. I have a lot of things that I like to collaborate on and just try to find how to work with different types of people and deal with different types of cultures and demographics and things like that. So just being able to kind of move around from person to person and adapt to different situations, I think is something I describe in myself, and just being consistent overall. So those are things I kind of gravitate towards: being consistent, being able to adapt to different types of people, and being able to kind of watch my surroundings and see where I am.
Absolutely. You have to be able to do that with the businesses that you run. You have Ankara Delights and you have Ankara Miami, which is an amazing multi-week event. Where does that come from? Does that come from Nigeria? Like you're from Nigeria, I know.
The overall idea, it's definitely related to my culture. I was born in Nigeria. I've been primarily raised here, but I do go back and forth. I won a pageant a few years ago. Yeah, a lot of years ago here in South Florida. We never say the year, which is so interesting, but I won a pageant back in 2011, the Miss Nigeria Florida cultural pageant. And the thing that I loved about it was it wasn't based on, a lot of pageants are based on like beauty and body and things like that. This one is based on promoting the culture. So it was different young women representing the area that they're from and just showing the fashion, my talent portion was like a folk story mixed with dance and song. So just kind of mixing in tradition with modern fashion and just showcasing the beauty of what our culture is. So with winning that pageant came the idea of, all right, I need to do something that is specific to my platform. So I can represent this pageant all day, but what am I going to do to represent Evelyn and the legacy I want to leave behind in this role? So I created Ankara Miami, which was based in South Florida. And the primary reason for it was literally just to showcase African culture on a platform that was positive, progressive, seen as trendy, seen as professional, seen as elegant. So the things that they don't necessarily always show you in media about, quote unquote Africa.
When did you start it?
I started right after I started planning the first show after I won. So the first show was in February of 2012. And I won, I think July or August of 2011. So started planning right after, and then that
Oh, wow.
started that show. So
That was super good.
it was so ambitious. I had no idea. I had done events. I always loved putting events together, like for friends, my high school reunion, things like that. But doing something with a business behind it and on a, more public scale was like totally new to me. And it had so many moving parts that I just was like, you just have to jump in and make it work. So dealing with vendors, dealing with designers, dealing with ticket sales, like dealing with every single aspect of the show was very challenging, but I was so glad that I was able to pull it off successfully because it became the catapult for, the rest of the years that followed. Really, really glad that I did that. The main event was the fashion show, but we continue throughout the years doing different types of events to, promote the fashion show, but also just be visible all year round.
Awesome. So I'm going to go back to that, but you mentioned that Ankara, Miami, and the pageant that you were in highlighted African culture.
Mhm.
So can you tell us what is African culture to you, and maybe even dive more into what is Nigerian culture to you?
It's rich. I think that's the most descriptive word I can use that encompasses everything about it. So the food is rich. And I mean rich in the sense of full of substance. So not necessarily, monetary, although that's there too. Like a lot of people don't really, really absorb the fact that Africa on its own and Nigeria is really wealthy. It's just not dispersed well. So you have either really rich or not. And that's of course not the way it should be. But that's just where we are. But when I say rich, I mean full of substance. So the food, the fashion, the languages, like there's nothing that's really, really there's nothing that's shallow about it. The things that we do tradition wise are things that have been done for like years, and the languages are years old. The fashion is years old. Like there are things that my mother wore that I wear now. Like it's just things tend to last, I think, a little bit longer. It's not so trendy because it's actually rooted in something that's very cultural. So it's more diverse than I think people would think. There are over 200 languages in Nigeria alone. So we're not even talking about the rest of Africa. So it's funny to me when you tell someone you're from Nigeria and then you hear them ask you something about South Africa. It's like, I have no idea. I'm not from South Africa. So we have a lot of similarities, but we have a lot of differences as well. So sometimes you'll see differences in the types of clothing that we wear. That can be based on the type of weather that we're in year long. That could be based on, even in Nigerian culture, sometimes you can look at certain clothing and know what area that person is from, or you can see a name and know what tribe that person is from. So there are differences, but there are some similarities. Like you hear the jollof wars all the time. So between Nigeria and Ghana and Liberia. Let me be clear. Nigerian jollof is the best. We'll be clear about that. But you do hear different things that do kind of tie us together, but it is very diverse. So I think those are two main things that I definitely like to showcase: the richness of the culture and the diversity, which is something that I definitely include in the fashion shows. Like I try to make sure everybody on the runway or everybody who's a participant in the show isn't just from Nigeria. I try to make sure we show, different countries, Ghana and South Africa. And I've had Zimbabwe, I've had Tanzania, I've had Senegalese. Like it's just making sure that we're showing that, we're not exactly the same. It might all be tied together, but we're not, carbon copies of each other. And then the third word I would use is progressive, which people definitely don't equate with African culture and Nigerian culture, but it's very progressive. Technology's on the rise, sports, entertainment. Like there are so many different paths opening up for us now that people are starting to pay attention to, finding ways to do business in Africa and have careers and just be progressive and be profitable. So those are, I think, my three description words for Africa right now: rich, diverse, and progressive.
Awesome. So in the richness, you talked about your mother, and you have clothes from your mother that she wore that are timeless.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the other things that you have brought from your mother and your mother's culture and yourself? It doesn't have to be related to the business.
Okay, so some of my morals, I think some of the, you have learned behavior. What's another cliche? That we're products of our environment. So even though I was primarily raised in the US, I have a lot of Nigerian influence as far as the way I might do things, the way I might carry myself. Nigerians are we're very proud of who we are. You'll never see me with my head down, no matter what's going on. There's a sense of pride I have in who I am and where I come from that I think everybody should have. It's not a better or worse type of thing. It's just a difference where we're being raised. But I definitely am a proud Nigerian woman. And I think that's something from top level to mid-level. Everybody has a sense of pride in who they are, and I definitely have gotten that from my mother, my grandmother, my aunts. Like we definitely keep our heads high. And I know there's this whole thing about being submissive in African culture, which on a personal level, you do how you want in your own, individual relationships. But on a whole, the women in my family are very, very strong women. So there's, I don't think, an ounce of meekness in anybody, and being submissive isn't really the first thing that you would say about any of us. Definitely the strength that she has, the hardworking nature that I have. Like I work hard. I don't believe in just being idle. I try to really fill my time with whatever it might be, whether it's personal things or work related things. I don't have children yet, but I can imagine raising them in a similar fashion to the way my mother raised me and my brothers. I mean, I don't know that there are specific things I can think of right this second, but I think as we grow, we tend to fall back on things that we've learned from our younger days. Whether we agreed with them as kids or not, we tend to kind of pull them into what we're doing as parents as well.
Awesome. You mentioned that you go back to Nigeria every year, every 2 years. So if I were to go to Nigeria, what do I need to do there? What shop do I need to go to? Whose food do I need to eat?
I'm not the typical, young Nigerian, because a lot of people will tell you about Lagos and, the nightlife, and that's not my bag. Like I breezed through Lagos and I head straight to the village. And I know even my cousins are like, what are you doing? Like they don't get it. But when I go home, that's my time to be with family. That's my time. My grandmother has since passed. She passed last year. So unfortunately, it's not the same vibe for me. I've been spending more time in Lagos. But before, as a kid, when we grew up, it was we go home, we spent 3, 4 weeks in the village and really just spent time with my grandparents, and just kind of that was vacation time. It wasn't about clubbing or shopping, which I mean, we definitely shop, but it wasn't about clubbing. It wasn't about social activities. It was about family. I grown up with that in me, that when I go home, I'm not in Lagos or wherever big city, Abuja, wherever. I'm not looking for, what the big event is to go to. I rarely take heels. It's just, I'm really, really looking forward to spending time with family, hanging out, relaxing. And then when I get back here to the US, okay, fine, I can create, whatever my social activity, my social calendar is, I can get back to it. But being home for me was a downtime. But for shopping and for foods and things like that, you do have to be careful. And this is with any foreign country that you go to. If you're not familiar with your surroundings, and if you're not with somebody that you're, kind of comfortable moving and navigating with, just being mindful of where you are, staying safe, and having common sense. But the marketplaces definitely are their own little madhouse. I love, of course, I have to, because of the business that I'm in with the retail, I definitely have to go to the markets and do my shopping for my stores and for orders that, pre-orders that people have made for custom wear and things like that. So market's one of my favorite places to go to. It is a madhouse. I go in there with my little towel because I'm probably going to sweat. I go in there with my little Wi-Fi, my little mobile Wi-Fi. I'm going to lose connection at some point. So I go in there and I'm prepared. I have my water. I have, I have my, like, it's a day thing. It's like a trip. There's all sorts of nightlife. If I need to connect somebody with who to talk to as far as where to go to, I can do that. Things are kind of calm right now because of the whole, COVID situation. But outside of that, the same things we have here. You have your open mic nights, you have your clubs, you have your lounges, you have so many restaurants. Like there's definitely things to do. The movie theater, whatever it is that you're interested in, there's things to do. So, if I
which markets would you recommend?
I go to Balogun is one of the popular ones. Yaba has a lot of like arts and crafts type of things. So like your masks and a lot of majority handmade pieces. So jewelry, home decor, things like that. Those are the main two that I go to. There are other ones. There's different types of markets. So you might go to a food market, you might go to an area that has just fabric. You might go to an area that has just accessories. You might go to somewhere that just has electronics. So it depends on what it is that you're looking for. I tend to stay on the fashion side. I go where the fabric is and where the jewelry is, because that's my thing. And then
Of course.
markets as well. The food markets are, your fresh foods, your ingredients for your soups, and then we bring food back a lot too. So just so we kind of stay connected to home. So if you can, you bring as much as you can, because you don't know when the next time is that you're going. But we do our food shopping, dry out everything, pack it well so that your bags don't get ruined with whatever it is that you're carrying. But yeah, so it just depends on what it is that you're looking for. There's different markets.
Awesome. So speaking of, you mentioned a lot about Ankara and the fabrics that you're buying there and for the business. Let's get to the meat of this. How are you able to really pull culture into a business?
Well, the business is, all about culture. So I think what has made it successful is the niche like market that I'm dealing in. You can go into any Macy's, you can go into wherever it is and shop for like Western wear, but you're not going to always find African ready-made apparel or fabrics to make your own or have your own made. So I think that's what I try to make sure I focus on. I deal with a lot of handcrafted pieces, a lot of one of a kind. So even if I have 10 of one item, they're not all going to look the same because they're made by hand. So the culture, and it's not just Nigerian where I get a lot of pieces from Ghana, from Senegal, a lot from Kenya. They're Maasai jewelry. The beaded work is so beautiful. I really, really love their accessories. Kenyan and South African accessories are like my favorite. So I sell a lot.
Absolutely.
The whole business is culture, and it's not only African made items. I carry a few brands that are Black owned or Caribbean owned, or just as long as we fall under the diaspora, I support that brand. So everything in there is like either made in Africa or made by somebody who is of African descent.
Awesome. You have Ankara Miami, you have Ankara Delights. I've been to the shows, I've been to some of the markets. Can you tell us like all of I believe there's about a million different pieces to your brand. Can you tell us all of the pieces?
Okay, so Ankara Miami is the event component. The main event just happens to be the African Fashion Week. So that's what we're most known for, not counting 2020. We do events year round, pop-up shops. We've worked with Natural Trendsetters on their annual hair expo. I've done fashion shows for other companies. So Macy's, Alpha Kappa Alpha, the Lynx, the Deltas, just different organizations might pull in Ankara Miami to produce a show for them. And that's what we do. So whatever special event it is, as long as it has a either cultural basis or a promoting some sort of Black culture or promoting Black creatives, Ankara Miami can produce that special event. Then I have Ankara Delights, which is the retail component. So if I do a pop-up shop, if I tell you, come to the store, the brick and mortar that we have in downtown Hollywood, or shop online at ankaradelights.com. Shameless plug, just go with me. I make sure I let people know this is where you can actually do the shopping. So for years, I was doing the fashion shows. And in 2015, I started the pop-up shops so that people could have the opportunity to actually buy. Because it's one thing, I always say this, like it's one thing to come to a show and, sit and watch clothes on a runway and look pretty and all of that. That's great. But the way to truly support these creatives is to actually purchase the clothing. So I just try to find ways to bridge that gap. So the pop-up shops were created to give access to consumers to be able to actually get these African wares. And then the store opened in 2018 just to have something more constant because I was doing the pop-ups quarterly. So now the store, of course, is, it's there all year round so that you can run in on a weekend. Sometimes we don't have time to shop online or we want to touch and feel and try on, which I usually recommend for African wear just because our clothing, the fabric is different. It's not, it's not stretchy. So a lot of times for me, I definitely have to try clothes on. I liked having the store and being able to tell people they can come in and try on. They can come in and get measured for custom wear, so on and so forth. So Ankara Miami is the events, Ankara Delights is the retail. And then I just have Evelyn O, which is little old me. If somebody needs an event produced, I can do that with no problem, even if it's not cultural. So that's just taking the Ankara Miami component out of it and saying, okay, you want an event produced? All right, you can hire Evelyn O. Or you have a photo shoot you need produced, or you have whatever it is that needs to be coordinated. I take great joy in planning and making lists and organizing events and things like that. So I get hired for things that look like events to other folks. I do speaking engagements. I've coordinated campaign fundraisers and school drives and whatever it is that needs to be coordinated, I've had my hands in.
That's definitely a lot, and it's always been enjoyable. What
Thank you.
what would you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, no, honestly, people really do looking forward to the fashion show every year. I know what friends they're like, okay, who's booking tickets? Let's book all of our tickets right now. Let's go.
When I tell you COVID I waited till the last second because at first it was downplayed before it became the pandemic. It was take
Yeah.
caution, so forth. So because this year I happened to move it to March. I would have already had it done in February. I would have been in the clear, but I moved it to March this year because I wanted to come off of Black History Month. I wanted to use Black History Month to promote it and then have it in March during Women's because my whole team, like 90% of my team is female. So I really wanted to try out March and see what that would look like doing it, off of Black History Month. So this is the first year that I moved it and then boom, we couldn't have it. So it's just kind of like, I really, really was looking forward to it. I was anticipating another really good year to be able to prep us for 2021, which would have been my 10th anniversary. It's just kind of like, let's see what happens. Cause now I don't even see 2021 happening because now we're having spikes and all this type of thing. And around this time of year is when I would start putting together my details as far as like my designers and putting out promos and things like that. But that's not happening. It's a challenge. I'm not the only one dealing with it. I get it. So I've in recent months come to peace with whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Yeah, I hear it every year that there are people, and I think that's what's kept me going because it's a challenge financially, mentally, emotionally, all the different aspects that go into putting on a production of this scale. Like it's not just this little show. It's a movement and it's been recognized globally. It's a thing that even if it weren't my event, I would talk about it on the same level that I talk about it because I really, really think it's a great program. But the thing that has kept it going outside of having such an encouraging support system is the fact that the feedback is always so good. Like, I really, really incorporate a great pool of talent. The designers that have showcased, the production team that I use, MD Simmons Productions, Sandra, like Dr. Severe, like there are so many people that are so good at what they do that they really, really make it a great experience. Like, it's this, red carpet event. You come in, there are people in African wear standing in front of a step and repeat. Before you even see the show, there's this vibe with like the best African music, the best clothing. Like, it really, really, really is a vibe. And I always get great feedback just because, when you hear Africa and when you hear about Black productions, you're expecting a certain, level of a certain standard. And I always work to like move past that and kind of set the bar for what it is a production should be. So we have people that will come after the show and say, I brought such and such with me this year. They really enjoyed it. Or I loved seeing the hair on the runway. I loved the clothing, the makeup, the people in the audience. Like, it's really a really good vibe. So that feedback has kept me going because I feel like if I didn't do it, there's nothing else like it in Florida. Just making sure that I try to stay as consistent as possible, no matter how challenging it was really important to me. So hopefully I'll be able to bring it back ASAP. Maybe if the fashion week doesn't work early next year, I also do Ankara Swim in the summertime during swim week. So maybe we can plan for that if everything kind of clears up before then. Just watching and praying and crossing my fingers that, that people, that we take it seriously and do what we need to do to kind of keep the numbers down.
Absolutely. It's needed. I hope there is at least an outdoor socially distanced Ankara swim. That
Right?
that would be that would be phenomenal. So with all of your success that you've had over the years, what is one bit of advice that you would give to other cultural business owners or small business owners in general?
Treat what you're doing with respect. Respect your audience. Respect the people that are working with you. Like, if you take it seriously, I think other people will take it seriously. Like, it's never been a hobby to me. It's never been a game. I'm very serious about what I do and why I do it, and I think that translates to the team that I work with, which in turn, translates to the outcome of the event, the actual execution of the event. Just being respectful of people's time and people's money and trying to provide the best experience possible, whatever that looks like in, whatever lane the person is choosing to follow. And then just doing it. I think, and I'm guilty of this, like when I give this advice, it's like I'm talking to myself as well. I try to like plan and make things perfect, and it will never be perfect. So you just have to do it. To the person that's like, I want to start something, I'm just trying to make sure everything's right, like, just do it. Because if you don't, somebody else will, or you might never do it because you're always going to wait for that big moment or whatever the case might be. So I think those are two things that are really important. Just doing it, having the confidence to do it. If you fail, whatever that looks like to you, it might not come out how, exactly how you wanted it to come out. You do it again, or you try it another way, or you learn from whatever that mistake was and you make it better.
That was a great advice. Just do it. Definitely. I'm going with it. Just do it. That's the word we're using for this one. Well, with everything that you're doing, what do you do to give yourself pause, to give yourself a reprieve, to relax,
That's
to take
my
care of yourself?
I know that's my Nigeria trip. That's my when I go home, it's like as soon as I step foot, as crazy as Nigeria can be, as far as like the hustle and bustle, like it's not a relaxing state. It's really weird because I'm always aware. So my mind is always like moving while I'm there. But when I get to the village, that's like my strict downtime. Nobody
And
can bother me. My phone is off. Like, that's my true downtime. But when I'm here, I have really good girlfriends that I hang out with. We'll have, our movie nights or our dinners or family time, like whatever. It's usually spent with other people and just having that quality time. I don't really, which I don't really take as much time to myself as I should. So I think my downtime is really spent with people that I enjoy their company, and just being surrounded by good positive energy can really be refreshing and keep you going. So I think that's kind of what I do to kind of take care of myself. Just make sure I'm surrounded by lots of positivity.
you keep mentioning the village. What's the name of the village?
Oh, Anyofu. Anyofu is in Delta State for anyone that's familiar. It's actually my mom's village. So I'm from, and I'm getting really specific here, but I'm from Abia State, which is in the east. That's my dad's area. And we're categorized by where our fathers are from in Nigeria. So I'm from Abia State, but I'm more familiar with Delta because of little Anyofu.
Okay. And then when you are traveling outside of Nigeria, what's one of the best travel experiences you've ever had?
Wow, I've been to a lot of places, but I think I had a lot of fun I've had fun in Jamaica. Jamaica was definitely a great trip. How can you not like relax? And the food is great, the weather is great, like everything's great. And then I enjoyed Greece as well. This was years ago, but I did enjoy Greece as well. I think the same thing, like the weather, the food, the people. There's some European countries that I don't really get with because I don't like the feeling I have when I'm there. But Greece, I feel like that in Greece. I felt welcome. So Jamaica, Greece, and then Ghana. Ghana was like, that might be maybe the top because I had wanted to get there for so long. And this was recent. I was just there in February, right before everything shut down. And I was so grateful to be there just because I've wanted to experience other African countries. I've been to Nigeria so many times. It's like, I just wanted to see what another African country was like, and I definitely have more on my list. So Ghana was great because I felt not just to me, but to the group I was with, they were very, very, very welcoming. And of course they are because they have this whole, return to Africa movement going on where they're very encouraging to blacks of the Africans of the diaspora and black people to come back and invest in the country and in Africa. So they're very welcoming. I thought the food was great, the people was great, it's beautiful. And I saw some similarities with Nigeria. So it felt a little bit more like home than any of the other places I've been to. So I think those would be my top three, like outside of the US.
So Ghana was the most recent place that you've been to. So if I were to go to Ghana, where should I go? I've been there, but where should other people go when they're there?
Where should well, the markets, of course. I can't remember any of the names specifically, but I'm sure if you ask, you'll be able to kind of find your way around. But the markets are great. I found a difference in the markets in Lagos and the markets I was in Accra. The jewelry is different. A lot of the pieces that they carry are different. So it was a good experience for me to kind of see what they had to offer. I've been working with vendors where I have things sent to me, but being there was definitely an enjoyable experience, enjoying some of their food. I was with a group. We did a couple of night outings and I cannot remember the names of any of these places, but they're places that all we had to do was ask somebody, hey, it's Thursday night, where should we go? Or it's Saturday, where should we go? So they were kind of like the hot spot. I think asking locals is always your best bet, just to have an authentic experience and know where it is to go to kind of get the best nights out and your best shopping and foods as well. But of course, being careful and making sure you're with people that you trust wherever it is that you decide to go.
That's important anywhere you go. If you want to have
Mhm.
a good experience, to me, you definitely need to ask the locals because otherwise you're just going to be doing some super planned out thing.
Yeah, my girlfriends and I, when we used to take like out of town trips, we always did like you always ask somebody that's there. Don't go just off of Google can give you like, directions and times and things like that, but the person that will really tell you what it's about is the person that lives there. So I always try to get a on the ground authentic answer just to make sure we have the best time.
Thank you very much. I have two final questions that I ask everyone,
Okay.
and they are if you were to ask any woman, anywhere in the world, a question, what would that question be?
What are you doing for you? I think I say that because a lot of times women, we are in a role, we're in a nurturing role, we're in a position where we're taking care of everybody else, whether that's family, whatever that looks like for the person. I think we're seen as the nurturer. So we're always mindful of other people and we're always considerate of other people. And I think our actions tend to show that, and the way we move is based on other people. So I would probably ask her, like, what are you doing for you? What are you doing to take care of you? What are you doing to better yourself? What that I think encompasses other questions. As the conversation goes on, it would get deeper, but I think that's what I would start off
Okay. And How would you define a woman?
A woman. I think a woman is a multi-dimensional person. There's so many pieces to us. I don't think we're one thing. I think we have to carry a lot of different hats, but I think we juggle them well. So that's the whole thing, I was talking about in terms of like taking care of everyone else. Like we juggle whatever it might be professionally, personally, in the home, at work. Like we carry a lot of different, we hold on to a lot of different pieces, but I think we make it look good. So a woman to me is someone that's multidimensional. She's able to make her place in the world. She's able to balance all things and look good while doing it.
I like that. Thank you, Evelyn. Oh, and where can everyone find you? So here's where you do your shameless plug.
Shameless plug again. Okay, so you can find me on Instagram at Evelyn O number 11, Evelyn O 11. And then the Ankara Miami page is Ankara Miami, Ankara Miami, and Ankara Delights is Ankara Delights. That is the retail component. So those 3 pages on Instagram and Facebook.
So thank you so much for being with us. Everyone, you can find Collective Drift at collectivedrift.com on Instagram and on Facebook as well. And I want to thank Truist again for sponsoring this episode. Go to truist.com for more information on Truist. All of this information will be available in the show notes. So if you're driving, no need to get into an accident over writing down this information. Just go to the website. It's all right there. Remember to like this episode, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, rate us. Love you. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and I'll catch you next time.